that don't want what we know out there.
How a person can go from really almost nothing to becoming a millionaire by owning rental properties.
He would always buy these flip houses, and I just remember thinking, this guy is crazy. Why would he buy that house?
In the past decade, there's been a huge surge in the peer-to-peer short-term rental market.
Become an insider. So you have to know the rules before you get the game.
Every second counts. So make every second count.
Welcome to the Real Estate Jam. Whether you're just beginning or the best of the best, we're glad you're here. We will share successes, failures, and strategies for the action-taking real estate investor. And now to your hosts, JD and Melissa.
Hi guys, welcome to the Real Estate Jam podcast. I'm JD with my wonderful co-host.
Hello, JD.
Melissa. We are super excited today to bring you an author. Well, I guess once a Marine, always a Marine, right?
Semper Fi.
Marine Corps veteran. Dave Wolcott. He's the CEO of Pantheon Investments and the writer of The Holistic Wealth Strategy. Dave, we're super excited to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, grateful to be here to connect with you and your audience.
Awesome. Well, Dave, can you maybe, for those in our audience who don't know who you are or haven't heard about you, can you kind of give us a rundown, the brief synopsis of where you started and where you're at now? And I'm sure we'll follow that where it goes.
Yeah, absolutely, JD. So probably like a lot of folks out there, right? I grew up in a middle-class family, was told that the recipe for success was go to school, get good grades, right? And you'll get a job and life will just work out, right? So kind of forged down that path. I did the ROTC program and got into the Marine Corps, as you pointed out, and really had an amazing experience in the Marines and really learned things that they don't teach you anywhere else on the planet. Things such as leadership, teamwork, and integrity, right? Which are so important. After that, I transitioned into the corporate world, got into the tech industry, and I was really quickly dismayed because I just lost that sense of purpose, that sense of mission, that the military really gives you, and just doing the right thing. Everything became about quarterly results and numbers. So kind of became frustrated with that. And then at the same time, my wife and I started building a family. And on October 24th, 2000, we had an 18-month-old. And then we literally had triplets. So we quadrupled the size of our family, right? Oh, wow. So any of you out there listening, I know if you have 1, 2 kids, you can imagine what that was like. So what did I do, right? The first thing I tried to figure out was, how am I going to provide financial security, for my family after quadrupling the size, right? And I went to see my financial planner, and just like every other one I had met with before, it was always the same story. Put your money in a 401k, you'll make 7%, the market's going to go up and down, but that's a great return, and that's what you should do, right? So the entrepreneur in me really started asking questions and kind of put me on this obsessive quest to figure out, how are the top 1% building their wealth? Right? Because I knew it wasn't as a retail investor in the stock market. And keep in mind, this is 2000. So I know all of your listeners have probably read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant. And these were like, great revolutionary concepts at the time. But what's the playbook to actually put it into action? We were driving around looking at single family properties with, 3 babies in the car. And I'm like, this is just not sustainable. Right. So I started basically enhancing my network, started investing in alternative assets and private equity. So I invested in everything from oil and gas to raw land, to retail, to office parks, to multifamily, got into lots of different investments. I also became an entrepreneur to move to really become a business owner, and built a business in the tech industry, a consulting business. And so fast forward 20 years from then, I really wanted to create Pantheon, which was just an instantiation of those 20 years of learning. And how could I really create a system of how to build wealth like the ultra wealthy are doing, right? And that's what our book is about. That's what our business is about, is helping other people achieve this, which is completely contrary to Wall Street.
Wow.
Yeah, awesome. Well, one of the things that you mentioned, you mentioned alternative investments, and so you just mentioned oil and gas. But what does that look like, and how do you know that alternate investments is what's best for you, for our listeners? How do we know that that's the right way to go about it?
Yeah, sure, JD. So look, I mean, again, talking to financial planners, they're going to tell you to do this, build your portfolio, which is basically 60% equities and 40% bonds and some kind of mix based on your risk profile and everything.
Color cost averaging.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I mean, with things like this and max out your 401k, right? But there's things along there that give you clues, right? I mean, if you're paying any bit of attention to the economy today, how are we going to keep up with, we keep hitting the debt ceiling limit. So people keep saying, hey, I'm going to defer my taxes, every year in my 401k. But what do you think is going to happen in 25 years when you go to take out that money? You're going to be taxed at ordinary income tax rates, which my guess would be that taxes are going to be going up in the future, right? So I've tried to look at this thing in a multidimensional way. And so if you take $1,000 worth of stock, you have $1,000 worth of stock. And the only thing you're hoping for is that the value of that stock is going to go up, right? And that's how you're going to make money. So I really developed our investment thesis over 20 years, which is really three-dimensional in nature. I really call it the trifecta of investing, which is, can you get into an investment that provides you tax efficiency? It provides you predictable passive income, and it also creates an opportunity on the backside for forced appreciation. So real estate, I know all the listeners here, right? We talk about real estate does that really well, right? Especially things like multifamily, where you can do depreciation, you can offset that income. You're not paying, taxes on the income. You're getting that stable income that's coming in, and you're driving value right into the property. You're not just hoping that it's going to go up, right? And that's why we make the distinction with forced appreciation. So we're really looking at, alternative assets, that fit within that investment thesis. And that way you can actually completely multiply your wealth, right? And you can do it on a risk-adjusted basis, right? With assets that are lower in risk, but much more efficient than just putting it in the stock market.
Sure. So is real estate the only thing that you're seeing force appreciation, tax advantage, and passive income from, or are you seeing?
Yeah. So JD, there's multiple different, asset classes, and we kind of pride ourselves in trying to find the best of the best. And our model is really partnering with operators in different spaces. So we mentioned oil and gas, right, as an example. Well, we're partnering with a really unique operator that actually you can get 100% tax deduction. So off of your AGI or your active income. So unlike real estate where it's just passive income, you can get 100% right out of the gate of your investment in oil and gas. You can get double-digit passive income returns with the oil and gas that's coming out, right? And then they look to actually sell to either a larger income producer or let's say a pension fund, right, that's driving additional income. So in that way, you're meeting that investment thesis, right, of getting those three dimensions. So that's a great asset class. Self-storage is another one, right, that has similar attributes, right, that we're talking about. So there's a lot of interesting asset classes out there that meet that. And I think also ultimately what we're trying to do is really solve problems for investors, right? So some people are trying to retire early and hit financial independence, right? With that real estate, everyone's trying to get to that passive income number. But, look, if your rate of return is only like 6%, yes, you have, a nice balance sheet and it's growing, but you got to get that cash flow up, right? So how can we get there, maybe with a higher yielding asset, right? Or like we have very high net worth investors, you've got a doctor making, $500,000 or $1 million, right? How do you offset some of those taxes? Well, you do that through some of these types of investment vehicles.
Awesome. And so what does your company actually do? Are you like a financial planner would be for the regular stock market stuff, but you're just doing it on alternative investments? And then how do you guys get paid? Are you paid based off of commission? Are you paid a fees? What does that look like?
Yeah, sure. So basically, again, our mission is to really help our investors 10x their wealth. Okay, that is our goal. So our holistic wealth strategy in the book that we put together is really a 5-phased approach, right? Which talks about how you can get educated, creating a very clear vision for yourself and where you want to go. It's all about creating an infrastructure for yourself, right? And the right team, behind that. And then putting your assets in the right positioning, right? Sometimes there's some asset repositioning, and then trying to build massive passive income to support that. So we try to support our investors across that journey, doing multiple things. As part of the infrastructure phase, we provide something called infinite banking, which really helps that liquidity portion, especially as real estate investors or entrepreneurs. The thing that private equity and real estate doesn't really have is liquidity. Right. So this is a fantastic way to, create liquidity as part of your solution. So we help investors with that. We're also providing exclusive deal flow, right, into some of these alternative assets that we identify that could be great solutions for our investors to get, again, a great risk-adjusted return. And we also have a mastermind and virtual family office for clients who want to get deeper with us, build out their own teams, create a dashboard view of their wealth, and really try to, take things to the next level.
Okay, great. So who, if your company, you guys have an avatar of who that perfect client is, or who your services serve best? Can you maybe, if somebody's listening, they're thinking, well, is this something that I should look into? Would it serve me? Can you kind of give me, like, what is it? Do they need to make a certain amount of money every year? Do they need to, who's going to receive the most benefit from looking into your guys' system and reading your book and all of that?
Yep. I mean, I think anyone can really value, but mostly, once you're an accredited investor and you have the ability to, participate in these types of opportunities, that's really where you want to be. So we're primarily working with entrepreneurs, high net worth individuals, right, who are looking to, significantly grow their wealth to 8 to 9 figures, and also to protect your wealth as well, right? It's not only about multiplying it, but we want to preserve that precious capital that we've got. And, there's many entrepreneurs, and I come from that world. I've built several businesses myself. I've had a full exit. So you have a big liquidity event, and, you're dealing with difficult things like, how do I offset the taxes, the capital gains on selling a business, right? How do I redeploy that, right? How do I create that lifestyle that I want, my capital to support? And it's interesting, guys, right? I think, we often overlook what money really means to us, right? If you kind of look at a deeper level, most people are really looking for freedom. Especially entrepreneurs, right? We're driven to say, okay, I'd like freedom of money to be able to do whatever it is that I want to do. And that means something different to everyone, right? It could be, building a new charitable foundation. It could mean, being able to support your extended family, or it could mean, having greater impact, or, whatever that means, right? But having that financial, freedom of money, also having freedom of time to be able to work when it is that you want to work. It's also having freedom of purpose to do what it is that you want to do. I mean, how many people out there are really frustrated? They might be making great money, but they feel kind of trapped, right? And it's, we only have one life to live. So it's really maximizing and being in a position to be, completely doing what you love. And also spending time with like-minded people and, people that inspire you, encourage you, have the same mindset. That's really going to take you further and just make, your whole life, that much more enjoyable. So I think, people ultimately are really driven to have these freedoms. So how can we create, the financial side of that to be able to support, these larger freedoms?
That's good. I like that. Good insight.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Now, if your target demographic is accredited in investors, and you spoke on that, but these people that are listening that maybe aren't accredited investors, but they're entrepreneurs leading the life to get to that point, acquiring more assets, building bigger businesses, what can they do to help prepare them to move on to that next thing, before they're actually accredited investors? I mean, there's some steps to lead you on the right direction.
Right. So I would point to my book, The Holistic Wealth Strategy, because like I said earlier, you might hear a great podcast or read a great book, but no one is really talking about how do you create a system out of wealth building, right? You need like an architecture, you need a framework of how to really accelerate your wealth. And, the beginning part of this, like I said, all starts with mindset, right? You have to be very open to the idea. So many of us have been kind of brainwashed by Wall Street, right? Which is, well, I'm investing in the 401k because my employer told me to do that. My family's doing that. My friends are doing that. I'm putting all my money there. But if you asked, yourself certain questions like, okay, well, I'm going to be paying taxes on the withdrawal, right? My employer's matching me 3%. But if you actually looked at a calculator, we've actually built a calculator for investors where if you exited your 401k, paid the 10% penalty and the 35% taxes or whatever your tax bracket is, if you invest that, 100K would be net 55K after those taxes and penalties. After 20 years, you'd be at over 2 million if you invested into, let's say, a multifamily syndicated real estate, assuming a 20% uninterrupted compounding return. And if you compare that to the 401k, once you take out taxes, fees, right, inflation, you're at 250K. Okay. Yeah. So this is why the wealthy are getting wealthier, because they really understand how to use all these things together. So back to, part of your original question, what can people do? You need to start getting smarter, right? And you shouldn't just be looking at, because, traditional financial planning, they have an agenda. Okay. They call these alternative assets for a reason, because they can't sell them to you and they're not making a commission on them. Right. So once you start to do some due diligence and get a little bit smarter on what's available to you, you can start small and you can start chipping away. And it's amazing to see the progress. I mean, my oldest daughter is 24. She started saving her capital in high school and in college, and she put it away. We created a cash value life insurance policy, which we helped her set up because, again, Pantheon supports that. And so she set up a policy, put her capital in there. Once she graduated, her and her boyfriend bought a single family in Tennessee. They borrowed the cash out of the policy to use as the down payment. They went in, they spent 12 months. They basically house hacked, right? They did all these improvements to the property. They built up like 100K in equity. And now they're renting it. They're cash flowing like $1,200 a month. And they just bought their next house and they're going to go do it again, right? She's 24 years old, right? So anyone out there, can do this, and it all really starts with, again, mindset and getting yourself educated, surrounding yourself with the right people and learning the right things.
Awesome, Dave. Well, let's say that some of our audience wanted to find out more about this, more about where they can get your book, and how they can get in contact with you to get them started on this holistic wealth approach. Where should we be sending them?
Absolutely, JD. The best place is just at our website. If you'd like a free copy of the ebook version of our book, it's at pantheoninvest.com/wealth-strategy. All
right. We'll make sure to get that put into the show notes for anyone listening. You can just jump over there and click over to the website. Dave, thank you so much for coming on today.
Dave.
Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Really enjoyed it and grateful for the opportunity to create some value for your listeners.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Jam. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information, check out our website, therealestatejam.com, or find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Real Estate Jam. If you have any questions, feel free to drop us an email at therealestatejam@gmail.com. See you next episode.